Similar style to the previous ones. So I'm going to scale this cube. Sort of already got the default grey material on that we set up. And just going to refine the shape a little bit. For this one, I'm going to make a large cutter and use a cylinder to cut from it before we start on the main body. Just going to add in some extra loops with Nail Tools Edge Curve Plus, just because the resolution is quite small, quite low to start with. Going to take that away from that part and then lower this onto the other one with the difference brush boolean. And hopefully get some interesting mechanical part looking thing. Oh, quite like that, that looks pretty cool. Going to see what else we can do with it. I think some of these parts kind of look like vacuum formed plastic. My wife thinks they look like Hoover parts or vacuum cleaners if you're American. I do think vacuum cleaners look massively over-engineered. I think they've gone as far as they can go with vacuum cleaners. They need to get them guys working on, like, you know, medicine or something useful. Okay, just gonna add in a cylinder. Union those together. So that's just my random ramblings there. Don't know if anyone wants to hear those. Just going to cut the back off this cylinder before we union it into the main body. As well as all the booleans and cutters, you can always just still use normal modelling techniques. You can use chamfers, you can add large bevels and extrusions wherever you want, as well as just duplicate and separate geometry and snap it into place to make insets like this one. There's no right or wrong way, you're just sort of ad hoc making details to see what looks good and what doesn't. I really should have set up some cubes and cylinders already with the auto smooth and the grey material already on. It'd have sped up these videos at maybe another 5% or so. Here I've snapped the 3D cursor to this vert in the middle of this piece. So I can use the origin at the 3D cursor. And I'm going to rotate that around the y-axis by 22.5 degrees. And then hit Shift R to repeat. And that's how you get that lovely bit of the video where it looks like I've done something really clever. And then join them all together and use the difference boolean. You have to duplicate them twice so you can take it away from each part and you get that part cut out in the middle. Doesn't look good in yellow, so let's change that back. I've seen another guy work similar to this. I can't remember which channel it was. He moves his 3D cursor around a lot more than I do. I move it when I need something at the same angle, but but I don't move it a lot otherwise. Not got anything against it. It is a really useful tool. Once you get used to using it, you sort of really see the validity in using it. A nice oval cut in there. Just going to move it back slightly. You get quite quick to working with snapping the origin points of your objects to particular verts and things that you're just using as markers, and you're working this way. Yeah, I'm going to duplicate and separate these faces from this cylinder, and then I'm going to turn those into a handle that goes around the whole model. But because we've duplicated them from the outside of that bit, we need to flip the normals. That's it. Then I want to select, how many do I want? 4 each side, 3 each side, and just extrude that up. I've no idea what this object is, whether it needs a handle, but it's getting one. So extrude that past the midpoint, and then we can mirror and bisect that across. Give that the other material. And this bit, if we... I've got select boundary edges set to quick favourites. So I'm just going to do that and then run a small chamfer on it. And then mirror that over. And then I'm just going to snap the origin point to the middle of the handle, just so I can rotate it, see, let's have it leaning forward for now. You can be really precise with this if you want. You can go into side orthographic and get it so that it's exactly leaning on that part. Completely unnecessary, but just something to do. And select this edge and select mirror, extend, so it does the other side as well. I don't think that actually did that. I'll come back and fix that later. But yeah, just beveled the edge of that handle. And it's just playing around with the design really, just seeing what you can add and what looks good, what doesn't. You'll make some of these and they all look atrocious and you'll think, well, why did I bother? And other times you'll be like, that's the best thing I've ever made. That looks like the back of some giant cannon that's going to revolutionise gaming. And sometimes you just get things that are in between that look like vacuum cleaner parts. You can always, you can always bevel the edges of the object before you use a boolean on it as well. Just if you want the boolean to have a sharper cut or a difference in angles. I feel like you should have some plugs of some sort slotted into the front. So just going to scale down a cylinder here. You see what I would do here a lot is when I'm duplicating or moving is I just exclude one axis, in this case the y-axis. Just lets me move things around freely and position them. And again, the good thing of working this way is you're not really worrying about cleanup. You can kind of regard this version as like the high poly if you want to, and you'd just do a low poly over the top, which just basically removes all the panel lines and indents, and you just got the outer form. I want to cut between the two holes. That's not the right thing. I have to union them instead. That's better, but it's gone in too deep. That's it. I want it just in there a little bit. And then just apply them all. Just using ball tools, by the way. one of the add-ons that you should just always have on. I'll say always, unless you know, exclusively do sculpted or something, or organic stuff that doesn't require it at all. Just insert some little coins or buttons in there. Little chamfer on the edge. I quite like having these little nested things sitting within the frame. And once you've done a few of these, you'll sort of realise that it's quite easy to build up this sort of these layers of complexity, or what looks complex, but really it's the same process over and over again. And it's just down to your imagination and sort of having that idea of let's make it look this shape, or what if we start with a cylinder instead of a box? What if we make the cylinder have 8 sides when we start and go from there? What if we only use cylinders? What if we use cubes but only on the corners of other cubes and rotate it at 45 degrees? You know, there's so many different starting points that you can make these designs from, that you can sort of come up with endless possibilities. As I look at this piece now, the more I think it looks like the back of something, like the back of some weapon. It's not going to get the full weapon treatment. That's a story for another time. But when you look at the form of the thing and the curves and the way it's all fitted together, if you was just looking at this, like the finished render of this on a website somewhere, you'd be like, where did he start? Like, how do you start with that? Did you start with a box? Did you, you know, what bit did you cut away first? Just using the array on the Boolean to bring back those sections. You can move that around still. Looks reasonably good there. I try not to leave my Boolean cutters active. I tend to work on one part and then move on to the next one. I could leave them active and go back and change things, but I don't want a big list of cutters that I have to trawl through if I want to look for something. I'd rather just suck it up and remake the thing. Thank you for watching, and take care.